I know the other day we talked about the Steam Machine and its ungodly price point, so let's talk about something that's a little more appetizing. And that's from our friends over at Retroid. They are known for the numerous amount of handheld emulation devices that they produce on a yearly basis. And the most recent one we've come across was the Retroid Pocket 6, and that had some pretty good fanfare, despite it kind of being like a half-step successor to the Retroid Pocket 5. That being said, people still enjoyed it. There was also the option to change where your analog stick was going to be, because when it comes to playing games that require analog input, it's a lot easier when the stick's on the top part. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about their newest announcement, which is the Retroid Pocket Nova. Now, this week they've been dripping out details every other day or so of new information of their newest device that's going to be coming. Now, if you're in the, man, I am just getting to the point where my Retroid Pockets and my AYN Thors are becoming more like Steam Deck Lite. This is more of a, I'm going to go with throwback. Throwback's the word I'm going to go with that the Retroid Pocket Nova is aiming to achieve. Now, as you see here on screen, it has a 4:3 aspect ratio, which is very important for those that are interested in the retro gaming landscape, because that's how we all played our games back in the day, was on those 4:3 screens, And this is just bringing it back, and bringing it back in a good way. And in a market that has seen pricing continue to be an issue, this is somewhat of a welcome one. And it's got decent specs from what I understand, as we've noted many times here on this channel earlier this week and in years past. I'm not a very nerdy tech guy, so when it comes to this processor has a Qualcomm QC-S8550 versus a Snapdragon 850. I have no idea which one's technically better, and maybe I should tell you that and do that research and say, no, the Qualcomm's better. I don't know. If you're watching this video, I'm pretty sure you already know all about the tech specs and stuff. This is just us to discuss everything that Retroid has announced about it, and to, I guess, talk about which color we're going to be getting when the pre-orders do open. But let's talk about the Pocket Nova, okay? So it's going to be coming in 3 different variants, which we'll get to in a second when we talk about the price points, because that is the brand new news that just came out today in terms of this. This is what people were waiting for. How much is this thing going to cost us? Is it going to be expensive? Is it going to be prohibitively so? Is it going to be too much for what you can do with it? Now, my understanding of the power it possesses, as you can see here on screen, this is all aggregated from Android Authority. So thanks to them for putting this entire article together and putting everything in one nice, easy page to look at. So as you can see on screen, it's got a, like I said, the Qualcomm processor in there. RAM and storage, there's 2 RAM options. They got the 8 and the 12 gigabyte. Now, this is, I think, different than what they've done in the past. They did have a 6 gigabyte RAM model, I believe, of the Retroid Pocket 5, because I had that at one point, and it has so many different socks to it. So it's, at that point, you're kind of cannibalizing your own self by just having so many different random options. Maybe you can be a little more streamlined and provide more than what they're going to be providing us, which I'll show you here in a second and what I'm actually referring to. But anyway, only 8 and 12 gigabyte RAM options for you, and only 1 storage option, which is an interesting note, especially when we get to the pricing. 128 gigabytes of storage is all that is going to be coming on board. Thankfully, however, Retroid does give you the micro SD slot, which back in the day, you're like, yeah, I'll just toss a micro SD card in there because I got 20 of those, or a dime a dozen. Not anymore, they're not. They are not a dime a dozen anymore, unfortunately. But again, you do get the SD card slot. There is a 3.5 millimeter audio jack, which is always welcome to have there if you're not a Bluetooth guy. Having that ability to hardwire headphones in there is great. I don't know if it's on the top or bottom. I hope it's on the bottom. I hate when you have like a device like this and the headphone jack's on top, so you gotta like loop the headphone cord around. Instead, when it fits just right underneath, you can just don't have to worry about anything else, Batteries, 5,000 milliamp hours. Pretty good battery there. Wi-Fi 7 on board, which, I mean, it's a retro handheld. I don't know if having the greatest and best Wi-Fi in the world is necessary. However, if you were going to be streaming games on here, maybe. Again, it's a 4x3 screen. I don't know how much of the streaming and newer style games you're going to be playing on this anyway, just because it's going to be either really squished or cut off. I'm going to go with probably being squished. And then it has 120 hertz display, which I don't think, you can see it here on the screen, an AMOLED screen. So they're calling it their own own OLED. I forgot what their actual name for it was, like original OLED or something like that, but it's an AMOLED screen, 4.5 inches with a 960p resolution, which is pretty impressive. Again, 120 hertz refresh rate is very welcome. Probably not entirely necessary with the kind of games you're gonna be playing on this thing, but it's nice to have. So here's the color options before we talk about pricing, which there's a lot of color options. These aren't unusual for Retroid. These are pretty standard for what they do. They got all the transparent models because they know their target market is all of us millennials. So well done on their part, especially when you consider the other color options. But you got the smoke, the transparent black, you got the watermelon with transparent red, and of course you got atomic purple, which they call clear purple. I can't use atomic purple because that's a Nintendo thing. And then you got ice blue, which is also transparent blue. So the transparent options all look great. If you're familiar with the Retroid products, these all look familiar in terms of the colorways. And of course they got the GameCube model, which looks like it's a darker purple than what they've usually done in the past, but it's nice that they do a GameCube model because it's got like the special color coded buttons exactly where they would be, and the yellow right thumbstick for the C stick. And then you got the 16-bit version, which is based off of the Famicom or the Super Famicom rather. And then of course you got the all black. When it comes to the OLED, the black is the way to go because you got kind of like it's an experience that's very, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for here. It's very immersive. Immersive is the word I'm looking for, because you just got an OLED screen and then you got the background, so you're not distracted by color or anything like that. The colors look great. That's not unusual, but here's what doesn't look great. If we scroll over to their price points here. Now the pricing of this isn't awful, really. It's pretty comparable to what they have been doing, but there's an interesting thing that I'm not the biggest fan of. And if you look closer, see if I can zoom in here. Perfect, thank you. So it starts at $229, not bad. So you get 8 gigabytes of RAM with 8 gigabytes of storage. That storage option is the same on all three of these, which is different. But in the very first model, you only get access to the black color, the 16-bit colorway, and the GameCube variant, which I think a lot of people are going to be okay with that. However, if you want to get any of the other colorways, you're gonna have to spend almost $50 more just to access those. And then you're getting an extra 4 gigabytes of RAM, which is nice. But if you're looking for any of these in a different colorway, you're kind of SOL, which kind of sucks, because I'm looking at the icy blue right now and that thing looks great. It looks beautiful. I would love to own that. I just don't know if that's worth an extra $50, especially because when you're playing the game, you're not really looking at the device itself. You're looking at the screen, and that kind of sucks. But again, if you want those color options, just know you're going to be spending an extra $50. Granted, you're at least going to be getting an extra 4 gigabytes of RAM out of the deal, but maybe you don't want to spend that much and you just want an icy blue for $229. I'm sorry, unless you can find maybe a 3D printed case for this and just plop it in there, you're gonna have to spend a little extra money, which I want to know what you guys think. If that's kind of crappy on Retroid's part, if they can just you're making these pretty much to order as it is. So just put the case on the old 8 gigabyte model and send it over to me. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. It's just part of how they're going to, I guess, recoup some of this, because again, the pricing is very fluid right now when it comes to RAM and storage, and to see this price point is actually not terrible. I was expecting maybe $269 as a starting point. What is kind of unfortunate is that they're all 128 gig. There's nothing more. Granted, this is a retro handheld, pretty much in the true nature of it. So with like the Retroid Pocket 6, with the AYN Thors, with all these newer handheld emulators you got out there, A lot of people are putting like Game Native on there and being able to play Steam games on there, or they're playing Switch games on there. So like they're using these as essentially like mini Steam Decks. And I think it takes away from some of the whimsy of these devices is playing modern games on them. It's great to have that versatility 100%. And I don't think these companies should do things to negate the ability to do that. That being said, these are retro handhelds, and I like the idea that you're gonna play retro games on these. Not Mario Wonder. Like, get a Switch for that. Seriously, like, this is nice. I do appreciate the 4x3 screen. It really kind of takes you back to it, and it cuts off all the extra real estate that you don't need if you're playing specifically games like on the Sega Genesis or on the Super Nintendo. You don't need all that real estate unless you want to find like a widescreen hack or something like that, which for Sonic, playing Sonic in widescreen is pretty cool, not gonna lie. That being said, I do appreciate this model. I think it's awesome. Am I gonna buy it? Maybe. I might be in. $229 is not bad. Again, as weird as it sounds, I really wanted like the blue or the watermelon color because those are really cool looking. But I don't know if that's worth an extra $50. I think I'd be fine with just going with the old GameCube color edition, being able to play like Wind Waker on here, and Majora's Mask would be great, and then kind of going from there. I think it looks great. It also, if you do pre-order it, which they haven't announced when pre-orders are set to launch. In fact, on the actual Retroid website, I couldn't find anything on the Nova. This is all on their Instagram page, and this is how they've been announcing it. This is with a pre-order, you get a free bumper back shell, which helps with a little bit with ergonomics, which is cool because these devices, if you use those thumbsticks and the orientation that they are in, not easy at all. Those hurt. They hurt a lot. So much so that on the Retroid Pocket 6, I think this is the exact orientation it was. And then people were making an outcry enough of it on Discord and on Reddit that they wanted the thumbstick in the upper position, or maybe it was launched that way. And then people wanted it the original way. So then they actually offered the ability to get it one way or the other. So you could have it with the D-pad on top, or you could have it with the thumbstick on top. So that's cool of them. I wouldn't mind seeing them do that for this, because I think people are going to enjoy playing like PS2 games on this thing, especially if you get the 12 gigabyte model. That is there are GameCube games and PS2 games that will struggle on the 8, so getting the 12 might be necessary if you're going to be playing later retro stuff like the PlayStation 2 and GameCube. But if you're playing everything pretty much before that, I think the 8 gigabyte model is going to be more than enough. But I wouldn't mind seeing the option to put the thumbstick on top, kind of like they did with the Retroid Pocket 6. But what are your thoughts? Are you interested in the Retroid Pocket Nova, coming in at $229, which is, well, not terrible. But if you want a different color, if you are hoping for no issues with PS2, GameCube, Xbox games on your Retroid Pocket, then you may have to spend a couple extra dollars for it. But let me know if you're interested in this, and what model are you going to be picking up. Again, I could see myself playing like NFL 2K on this, so the 12 gigabyte model might be necessary, and maybe that icy blue could come home. You know what I'm saying? But let me know in the comments what you think. If you haven't already, like this video so more people get access to it, because that tells YouTube to push it out to more people that enjoy videos like this. And of course, if you want more content, the easiest way to do that is hit the subscribe button. It's free. Hit the bell notification so you get the notification sent to your phone as much as YouTube tries. And then that's all we got. Until next time, we'll catch you down the road. Thanks for watching.